Right now, we're going to turn to the world of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and the guys from Infinity Ward are here. Great to see you, Jake.
See you, man.
See you.
And Joel. Guys, this is so cool that Modern Warfare is back, and everyone saw the reveal trailer. It's doing pretty well view-wise on YouTube, I think, in terms of interest
So,
around
okay,
this.
I guess.
Well, it's exciting, and I mean, you know, Joel, for you to be back at IW,
Yeah.
for you guys.
With these guys.
I know, with these guys who, you know, legendary Naughty Dog games back in the day. It's kind of an all-star team, which this franchise deserves because it is such a legendary franchise, Modern Warfare. And for you guys, this is, you know, a lot of people were wondering, oh, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4, but it's not. It's Call of Duty, as Joel's shirt says, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Tell us a bit about the vision for this. Are you calling it a? It's not a remake. It's a I don't know if it's a reboot or a reimagining or what's the that we? How do you phrase what this is?
You always do this.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's a reimagining, right?
Reimagining. Okay.
We are all huge fans of this franchise.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to take Modern Warfare and bring it into 2019, back into the world that we live in today, was an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of Modern Warfare 3, and we looked at this, of course, but let's go back to 2011. Nukes had gone off.
Right.
The Russians had invaded the United States. There weren't any real-world stakes left to tell in that world.
Yeah.
So we brought it back, made it what it used to be, which was relatable, grounded, based on the world that we all live in right now. And so that was our jumping off point for this game.
I know, Jacob, it's sort of the story of sort of two sides, right?
Totally. So that's, I think, one of the coolest things about this game is for the first time you'll be playing not only as Tier 1 Special Operations Forces, but also as Rebel freedom fighters.
Yeah.
So when you're playing as Tier 1, you've got all the best tech toys. You've got night vision goggles and the best guns, and you can call in airstrikes.
Yeah.
But when you're playing as freedom fighters, you're the underdog. You've got IEDs, Molotovs. You have to use ambush tactics, guerrilla tactics, that sort of thing. So it creates a completely different type of dynamic in combat.
Joel, you know, one of the things I think everyone noticed was just the visuals on the trailer. And again, I've seen more than what's been shown here, but I mean, the tech is really incredible. We all of us journalists got to see it about a month ago, and I think we looked at it and we're like, oh, is this running on like a next generation system? I mean, it's really impressive tech, and the art is part of that. So, you know, art is only as good as the technology sometimes that allows you to bring it to life, right?
You have to work with the engineering team. You can't, you have to go with it. So I think we have, when I first got back, they showed me like a buffet of all these things that the engine could do, and I was like, oh my God, it's incredible. So, we went out and did a lot of reality capture. Like, the goal was to make it the most photorealistic Call of Duty that we could possibly make. And, it's been a long journey. We had to develop practices in-house of actually building our own technology, like our capture data or our capture machines to go out and capture this stuff, learning the tricks of the trade and kind of pioneering some stuff in-house.
Yeah.
But the result is actually, what you see here. It's through and through from top to bottom. There's a fantastic marriage of reality capture and traditional, in-game engine stuff.
Now, one of the things I think a lot of people wondered about when they saw this is like it's so real, and you're telling a real story, and obviously everyone remembers like No Russian from Modern Warfare 2 and the intensity of that. Tell us a bit about kind of that balance between realism and also doing things that are you're dealing with war, you're dealing with sensitive subjects, and certainly games are able to sort of affect us, which is something that we want, and have an emotional reaction. But skirting that line, how do you go just to the line but not over it? And tell us a bit about some of those from a macro perspective, how you're approaching sort of like the narrative and some of those more sort of sensitive subjects of war and realism.
Yeah, I mean, as storytellers, we are always looking to put pressure on our characters.
Right.
Because pressure reveals their true nature.
Yep.
And what a greater source of pressure than to be in war. Jake had always talks about this. He said the thing that Call of Duty taught him was that if he was ever in the field, he'd never make it. It's really intense.
Totally.
It's life and death.
Yeah.
And so, we just want to portray being in combat in the most respectful, kind of realistic way that we can possibly do it. Now, the difference, I would say, between giant spectacle all the time and a more intimate, intense feeling is, frankly, it kind of piggybacks off what Joel was saying. The engine the fidelity is such that we can make ascending a flight of stairs with a group of tier 1 operators clearing, a building as intense as giant explosions and big scale and big scope now.
Yeah.
So we really are playing with the different faders of intimacy and intensity and feeling claustrophobic,
Right.
and yet also having the large-scale battles and things like that.
It
that
definitely
everyone
comes from a different center. I mean, No Russian was a different time for a different Modern Warfare.
Right.
This game for me is more about being in realistic environments and identifying threats, which I think is much more interesting. And it's just a different dynamic that you're dealing with. It's a different
Right.
gameplay dynamic. It's really, when do you not shoot, that really makes it an interesting experience, I think.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's one of the very first things we did when we started making the game is, most video games don't make spaces that are real life scale because there are all sorts of technical problems with that. Your AI has trouble moving through tight spaces. You need room for a camera to move around, so you make everything like 30% larger than it should be. But because of the technology we have, because of the work we've done with our AI, because of all the engine work that we've invested in,
Yeah.
we, for the first time, have environments that are 100% realistic in scale, scanned from real life. Everything about them is real. And that allows us to focus more on the nature of threat identification
Right.
and things of that
But also
sort.
the way that your friendlies move with you, the thing that you got to see, the townhouse asset,
Yeah.
those were real. I mean, they're retired now.
Intense,
They're
yeah.
they're Navy SEALs. They're doing their thing. That's all muscle memory,
Right.
and we recorded and captured that. And that gives when you only can get that type of performance when you actually have a realistic environment for them to
Yeah.
do it in. Otherwise it would look ridiculous. And, when you put it all together, it really.
Yeah, no,
It really
I
hits
mean,
it.
the levels you showed us, which again, people haven't seen yet, but they're really gripping. And I mean, it's something that you said Modern Warfare, I think, has always been known for the intensity of the experience, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, yes, there've been, big spectacle to some of those
Yeah.
experiences in Modern Warfare, but it's definitely extremely intense. And for those of us like me that love Call of Duty campaigns, we missed it last year, so it's just great to have that sort of, Call of Duty campaign back and reimagined. And I know that's not all. I mean, obviously we can expect MP as well, right? Not saying much about it, but we'll expect that, right?
God, we wish I'm dying to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
have what's interesting about the game this year, and we've set out to do this since day one.
Yeah.
Is it's one game.
Okay.
It's one consistent universe for the entirety of the game. It's not
Okay.
a bunch of modes you
Okay.
play. You are playing Modern Warfare. So
No
whether you're-
zombies in Modern Warfare?
No zombies, because the
Okay.
zombies wouldn't fit
Yeah.
into a world that we live in today.
But there's Spec Ops.
Speak for yourself.
I mean,
I think I saw some outside.
but yeah, the point is whether or not you're playing in co-op
Yeah.
or multiplayer
Uh-huh.
or single player, you're playing in the same world. The
Yeah.
rules are all the same.
Okay.
The mechanics were. You said it the other day,
Yeah.
and you were saying that one piece of equipment works the same across all the modes.
Okay.
One weapon works the same.
Uh-huh.
You start to really learn that. How much does it take to hit an AI, or what do I do with this, or how could I use this tactically?
Yeah, and as much as we believe this campaign is going to do for people what the first Modern Warfare did for me
Right.
and Jake when we played it the first time.
Yeah.
Co-op is going to be the same thing.
Okay.
So in the previous Modern Warfare games, there was a mode called Spec Ops.
Yep.
And we
Oh,
are
incredible, yeah.
we are going to have Spec Ops in the new Modern Warfare.
I
as
see.
well.
Okay, so you have,
But
like
Spec
Spec
Ops
Ops
like you've never seen.
to the 11th hour.
Okay.
To the
Yeah,
11th.
it's next
Crank
level.
crank the knob off, break it, and then throw it away.
but I saw the intensity of some of those Spec Ops missions back in the day were, I mean, incredible.
good stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now with that fidelity, the new engine, all
Well,
that.
it'll
with the story
it can have a
context, too.
narrative this time.
Yeah, exactly. We're saying
It's
the same
more
thing, totally.
exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think an even narrative in the co-op to some degree? Or
The narrative, it goes across all the modes.
Okay.
It's one universe. We have the saying at the studio, consistency and continuity in all modes. So the story continues
Uh-huh.
in all modes.
Interesting. Wow. Well, it's such an ambitious idea of sort of going back to Modern Warfare, dropping the numbers, rebooting it. But again, like the team that you guys have put together, I think, to do this. And again, based on the asset, I know people have only seen 90 seconds of it, but yeah, we got to go to the studio a couple weeks ago and look through it, and I got to say, it's really, I mean, it's intense, it's gripping, and that level of intensity across a full campaign, then when you add in Spec Ops and MP, there's a lot there.
Yeah, and you know, just to say it, the things that you saw were some of the more intense moments, but there's character development, there's heart, right? What it really comes down to is it's how squad mates stay united and overcome adversity together, and the bonds that we build together, like the bonds that we've all built making this game.
Yeah.
It's the same. You know, it should be about what are you fighting for? You're fighting for the guy next to you. You're fighting to make the world a safer
Yeah,
place.
the old "no one fights alone" that we were always driving through all the Call of Duties. I mean, it's I would say never. It's so much more visceral. I actually really care about these characters I'm with.
Yeah.
Even more. I mean, not that we did before, but it's at a higher level this time.
And
really,
you're coming at from sort of two perspectives. So narratively, like, are you sort of, is it interlocking kind of narratives where you switch back and forth? And I mean, how do you sort of structure that as a campaign?
Well, one of the things that we liked about the first Modern Warfare is how it sort of went kind of back and forth with these two viewpoints, and we're doing a similar thing. We really liked that. We wanted to retain that. But instead of, in the first Modern Warfare game, going between kind of a SAS perspective and a Marine perspective, now we're going with an SAS Tier 1 perspective and this rebel militia freedom fighter perspective. Which we think, again, to not tell that story of the war would be to not.
No, coming from both,
justice to
and that's why I think it gives you that. So again, another level of intensity.
And then they all come together, and they're all one team.
Yeah, and the idea of playing from different perspectives, not only from a gameplay perspective, but also from a story perspective, what it does is it gives us the opportunity to see war from more ways, more tactics, more gameplay opportunities. When we started making the game, you know, like Z is old school Call of Duty director back at the studio. We said to ourselves, no greatest hits. We want to do something where everything feels new. We want to make you feel like when you were playing Modern Warfare for the first time. So playing as those two different perspectives gives us the opportunity to give you new experiences that you've never seen before, and across all modes, like you were saying, tie the story into everything, because story context gives you more meaning when you're playing other modes, like MP, like Spec Ops.
Yeah, well, I got to say, it's intense, and I know there'll be more here at E3. We're going to see you guys on Tuesday for a panel, right?
Yeah.
All you guys will meet together again, and that'll be streamed on YouTube. So hopefully, we had a call last week. It sounds like we may have some hints of things to come at that panel, so definitely want to tune in.
Finally, we get to
exactly. So definitely tune in for the Call of Duty Modern Warfare panel that will be streaming live right here on YouTube on Tuesday. I think it's at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for coming down on a Sunday to hang out with us. Really appreciate it, guys, and we're looking forward to seeing more. Yes, Tuesday.